you everybody for tuning in to the first episode of RDY SET.
Yeah. I'm Angus.
I'm Derek.
And I'm Ricky. Thanks for tuning in.
Yeah. So today, I guess we can talk about, how we grew up in school, how, life as growing up being an Asian kid, the difference, expectations, homework, all that stuff, just how hard it was and how different it was.
Right, because you went to a predominantly Caucasian school.
Yeah, so I grew up in a more of a white neighborhood, which is more of the well-off area. Mm-hmm. So majority of the people are white. So all my best friends when I grew up, they're all white. But yeah, growing up there, when you're young, you don't really see difference in color.
Right.
So it's pretty chill. Everyone's super nice. It's only when you reach into high school
where you start noticing differences.
Yeah, differences. People kind of separate into groups. They did that in elementary, but it wasn't. No one really cared. No one really paid attention to that stuff.
Oblivious, right?
Yeah. I think that one of the biggest things growing up, I guess, is the meals and lunch. All the Asian people have rice, and all white people or Caucasians have soups, and bread, and sandwiches. Sandwiches is the to go to. But yeah, all the Asian kids tend to have dumplings.
Yeah.
The lucky kids get dumplings.
Yeah.
But then usually all of them has rice.
The lucky kids get warm dumplings in a thermos, whereas me had it in a fucking plastic Tupperware. It was cold and it had this smell of flour and whatever. It was just
But for me, I didn't really get that. I actually had sandwiches because my parents. So I had sandwiches.
They conformed.
Yeah. But no, it's just because my parents were so busy working, that the quickest thing was sandwiches. So
what kind of sandwiches? Bologna sandwiches?
No, just
sandwiches or PB&J?
Just ham and cheese. Basic Kraft cheese and then the basic ham. The cheapest ham you could find at grocery store. So I had that for once, and then that was the only thing I had. And then of course when you're a kid you like Eggo waffles. Oh. So I told my parents, I want Eggo waffles. And okay, so instead of bread, they put Eggo waffles and cheese and ham. I had that for
That's so smart though. They're doing that these days, and they're in 2020.
Yes, but then Eggo waffles is only good right when you make it fresh because it's hot, kind of crispy, soft inside. But if you leave it out for a long time, and they wrapped it in plastic, so it gets soggy, it's moist. So bad. And I had that for 3 months straight. I got so sick to the point I ate half of it and I threw it in the garbage. And I was taught never to waste food, right? So that was
God. They'd be so disappointed if they heard this.
Yeah, so my parents would beat me. But yeah, that was that's growing up. It was that. But then high school was a bit different. Upgraded from sandwiches to the microwavable, dinner. Those stuff, and then they would microwave it in the morning, and it would sit in my lunch bag till lunch. It was cold, but it was way better than sandwiches.
That's upgrade. Or did you ever have just instant cup noodles, and then all you get is boiling water at school?
Oh yeah.
That was the shit.
Yes,
the easiest lunch ever. Kids were jealous of that.
Yes. I think I asked my parents, I'm can I just have an instant noodle back in elementary? And they're okay, fine. It's got a thermos. Got that, and then I was one of the first kids that had that, and ever since then, all the kids in elementary had that, and I was yo, what the hell, man?
Honestly, it was the easiest lunch to have. All you need is the hot water, because then you just bring all the dried ingredients, and you just have to wait a few minutes, and you get something hot out of it, rather than I don't know if your school ever had microwaves.
Oh, we did, yeah.
Yeah, so having to line up for the microwave to heat your food was the biggest pain in the ass, because you have this long line of kids, waiting to each one to heat up their whatever pizza or whatever for 2 minutes.
A minute each, 2 minutes, yeah. And then there goes a lunch break.
Okay, well, I guess playtime's over then.
Yeah, but instead, people just line up for the kettle. for the That's what happens. So that's where they start telling kids like bring your own thermos, because there's such a huge lineup because everyone just wanted instant noodle. But all the cool kids though always had those Lunchables.
Oh,
I always wanted Lunchables.
Was that more elementary school or
that was elementary? That was elementary. Lunchables.
That's like pre-charcuterie. Crackers.
Yes. You build your own pizza. Like, man, that was like the cool kids. I asked my parents and they said it was too expensive and I never had that. So I just watched from afar.
Did you ever get to try one though?
Yeah.
Eventually?
Back then, I thought it was so good when my friend gave it to me, but like, I think I had it in high school or something just to try it. Yeah. It tastes so bad. Yeah, it's like the worst.
I haven't had it since like elementary, but I remember it was pretty good. I should give it a try.
Gourmet.
Yeah.
build your own pizza. Oh my god.
Do they still have those?
Yeah, they do. I think so.
Yeah, I think one of the issues I had with Lunchables though was because I never got full. Like I had it like once, and I was like, "Is that it? Is that all I get?"
Yeah, it's like crackers.
Yeah, and I was like, "Dude, I'm still hungry." I'm like, and some of the other kids I had like lunch with when they were like, it's okay for when you're a kid, but like it's definitely you'll be hungry after school kind of thing, like very hungry after school kind of thing.
Oh yeah,
definitely. Like the portion sizes were like negligible.
Yeah,
it's like 6 months as an adult now. Right?
Yeah. Did you get a water bottle when you're like did your parents ever give you a water bottle to drink from when you're in elementary? Because I never had one until I was in high school.
Yeah, high school was usually just a water bottle.
I always had one and I always lost it. They were so bad.
Oh really?
Yeah. I lost must have been at least 20 from all of elementary school. Yeah, from grade 1 to grade 7, I lost so many.
Oh my god.
Honestly, I think like parents should have known a little bit better, because like when you're a little kid and you're playing around, you're not gonna remember your water bottle. It's like, where'd you put your water bottle? I don't know.
All I had was just juice box. It's like,
I'll kill for a juice box.
Really? Oh man, I was so dumb when I was young. I thought that I could drink half of it and then save it for later, so I put it in my backpack. And then I think it was like preschool or daycare. I don't know when it was, but it was so young. I remember I saved half of it, put it in my backpack, got home, and my backpack was all like soaked. I'm like, oh, I wonder why. And I looked at my, oh, so never. You cannot drink half a juice box and put it back in your backpack. It does not work. Yeah.
It's learning.
Yeah.
Learning experience.
Exactly. Man, but did your parents ever have like expectations like when you were in school?
Eric?
Like the full Asian expectations, good grades, at least get into university or college is like
bare minimum.
It was the bare minimum for my parents. I was like, I know there are certain like the Asian tiger parents, like the ones we see on like Netflix or like the ones we hear about, where they're like, no, you have to get like A's in every single subject and be on like the principal's honors list, right? And like, but for my parents, it was more like, just like do your best. Like A's and B's are definitely like the warranted, but it's more like, as long as I was able to get my grades enough to get into university, then that's all I really cared about at the end of it. I truly feel that as time goes on, like maybe this is more true for our Asian parents when they're more either like first generation or just immigrated here generation, that they start off with high expectations, and then as time dwindles on, the expectations do get lower. Like the threshold gets lower, and like I don't know, that's from parental disappointment from us, but like it does feel like it. Like I have 2 younger brothers, and as the eldest of the 3 brothers, I probably had the shittiest time because let's face it, when you're the firstborn of any family, you're basically the experiment, right? So like they're trying to figure out boundaries, what they can or can't do. And then if they have future children, the rules are slightly more relaxed for them because they know what to expect of certain things.
Mm-hmm.
And
because it's always a parent's first time.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they're just experimenting. They don't know what's going on.
Yeah, I mean,
there's no Google back then.
Yeah.
There's no fucking Ask Jeeves.
That's why you
just
have.
Fucking,
That's why I have more than one kid.
That's
why.
It's a fallback.
It's like second one is better. Like third one is better.
Yeah, but like, I think by the time I hit high school, like in elementary school, the expectations were a bit higher, but once I hit high school, like later on in the high school years, like grade 12 is when we graduate. For those that might be listening in the States, it's like literally their expectations were as long as you can get into a university or college, we're absolutely happy with that. And I'm like, oh, that's fine. And in university, unless you're planning to go to graduate or any graduate or like, I guess like lawyer or medical school, then your grades don't really apply. As long as you pass the course, then that's fine. You'll get your certificate, bachelor's degree or associate's degree or whatever degree that you want.
What about you, Ricky?
My parents were really lenient on me. I think they knew right off the bat when I was like elementary that I wasn't gonna.
You're the special kid.
I wasn't gonna achieve any fucking lifetime achievement awards. Honestly, I think they were just glad that I didn't end up in jail or anything like that, which is it was pretty good. Because I've got two older brothers. My oldest brother, he didn't do too good in school either. But my middle brother did. So I think but they were all chill with all three of us. So it's just luck of the draw, I think. Yeah. But do you think because you went to university, I didn't complete. So would you say that your life would or has greatly benefited from going through to university? There's all the student debt. There's although like I'm really jealous of the experiences, like the forum parties and all that stuff, and but also like the clubs and the bonding.
Yeah. So I think one of the things is like the experience that you get out of it. So I won't go out and say that everybody needs to go to university or to get a degree of some sort, but I believe it puts you in a better standing in certain areas. It really depends on where you want to sort of put yourself, right? Obviously, I'm assuming that you would want a career, whether or not you do go to university or college or whatnot. So, like, certain places you can get away with not having a university or graduate degree or some sort of trades degree. But in other fields, it would definitely be warranted to have it. So one of the best examples I can think of is like, I guess right now would be maybe just accounting. Accounting is you can go to school and then after school you have to, you can get an accounting degree or you can get a business degree or any business related degree. And then you would have to go take the prerequisite courses. As long as you have the prerequisite courses, then you would get into the accounting program, finish their set of courses, and then take the final licensing exam. Without that set of courses, though, you cannot get into that program. So, hence, you need a degree. But I do have friends who are in a sort of like, say, computer science. Computer science is one of those things where you have to have the dedication to learn. It doesn't matter if you're in school or not. You can teach yourself computer science, but how good you are is depending on how much time and effort you put into it. And you don't necessarily, if you're a good coder, you can prove it by like creating a portfolio, things that you've done over the times. You don't necessarily need a degree, but as long as you can prove it to whoever your future employers are that you have the capabilities of doing it without having gone to school, then I'm sure they would be fine. Startups are like that too. Right. They have a lot of startups that you don't necessarily need somebody from a very well-educated background, but as long as they have the requisite skill sets to do what you need them to do, then that's perfectly fine. Yeah. But I would say the experience was worth it for me. As for things like debt and stuff, I can't speak on behalf of a lot of people because I didn't really student debt. A thing that my family did very well for me was because they had the expectation I was going to post-secondary. Nice. It was, they had like, over here we call it RESP, Registered Educational Savings Plan. And so they already had like a small nest egg of money available to me if I were to choose to go to the post-secondary institute.
Right.
Yeah.
Nice.
Did you end up saving like your own chunk, or did your parents help you out?
A little bit of both.
Yeah, both.
Yeah. So I did hold down a job while I was in undergraduate university, and then I actually had like held down a job ever since like grade 9 of high school. So it felt weird after a while of not working while going to school, even though it was like somewhat stressful sometimes.
Still working.
I got used to it. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I always wanted to go to university. Well, I never experienced that life. Like going to the clubs and all that stuff. Like, man, get to meet some people. I don't know. It's
but your thing was like really
intense. Yeah. So I went to art school. Like, I knew what I wanted to do when I was really young. So one thing I learned is, like, I didn't do too well in school. I was pretty much the dumb kid in class. And then high school, I was moved to a different high school than all my other friends because of how bad I did.
No way.
So I went to a special program.
Oh shit!
It's definitely not IB. It was I think it was called communications. So it was.
Oh, they thought you were a fob.
No, it's like literally for dumb kids.
Oh no way.
Yeah. So
Angus is a little slow.
Yeah, it's like you do so poor in class, like in school overall, they just put you in the special program.
Oh, yeah.
But then after going to that special, so I had back then no interest in school. All I wanted to do was just play video games and just play, like that's it, right? But ever since I went into that high school, there was like a switch that turned on, and I knew like if I continued to keep going down this route, like I would end up screwing my whole life over. So I actually took school super serious. And then I like did all my homework. I just did all my homework, like study for tests, which I never do, which is the first time.
So you buckled down.
Yeah, but then and then my mentality changed, as in like I really learned to grind and like put the work in. But at the same time, that special class or that program actually taught in a different way. It's very visual. And it was my first time get to experience what smart people experience, is that you don't need to study to remember everything. Like, they taught in a way which helps me remember everything. Like, they go through the textbook, but it's a specific way. It's very visual learning, and I can remember everything. And when I go take the test, I like ace it, and I'm like, wow.
So it's memory based.
It's very memory and visual. Yes, it's very visual.
Oh.
They have a specific, I think there's a term for it now, right? It's a special school now. They do a different kind of teaching method. It starts with the letter M. I forget what it's called. Like, that's how I learned. And that's something I figured out later. And then parents put me to like those tutor stuff where they
like Kulan and whatever.
No, it's the one similar, but the one they brought me to was like something learning, and they figure out maybe special learning. I don't know what it is. It's basically they take you one by one, so you get your own like instructor.
Whoa.
And they teach you in a specific way depending on where your skills are at. So I was a very visual and hands-on, so they taught me stuff very visual and hands-on, and I would get it like that. Like, different way of teaching. So that special program actually they taught like that. And I got things like so easy. And I was like, wow, this is what smart people feels like. You don't have to study. Like, you just remember things. And then I was actually the smartest in that class. And I'm like, wow, I'm not that dumb actually. So yeah, like went through high school, and then the program goes from grade 8 to grade 9. After grade 9, I did pretty well, and then I transferred back to Prince of Wales where all my elementary school friends went to. I guess my parents, for them, they're they're actually very strict parents, but for I think career-wise, they're okay with whatever. But I think it's because
like semi non-traditional.
Yeah, sort of. Like they're very traditional in certain ways. But all you have to do is just give them something like super dangerous. So I want to be a stuntman, and then I like wreck my body till not tomorrow, to the point where the worst is where I misplaced my spine, and then I couldn't walk. Like walking was so painful for like it took 3 months to recover. And after that, my parents like, yeah, you're not being a stuntman.
Oh.
And I was so serious of becoming a stuntman. My parents did a bunch of research for me. I wanted to go to China to train for like a couple months. And then
they were willing to let you go?
Yeah, because I was really serious of being a stuntman. I watched all those like martial arts movies and then like training videos. Like I would practice like nonstop. And I did martial arts when I was really young. So that really helped. But I wanted to be like the best. But then I overtrained, didn't know about nutrition, stress. So it was pretty bad. So then after that, I'm like, oh wait, what else do I like? Video games. I'm like, why don't I just do art? So that's when I went to art school.
Would you say that that was the most serious physical injury you've ever had?
One of the ones? Yeah, probably one of the ones, yeah. And then after that, got some other ones from weightlifting. Got bulging disc like 2 times, I think.
Jesus.
But it's okay. Like I know about like rehab movements, just trying to fix that. But working in front of a computer doesn't help because then your back gets stiff. So it doesn't really do anything. Doesn't really help in that way. But yeah, they were pretty cool with art school. Yeah, but I didn't know until about applying university until I was in like PE, and this guy came up to me. He's like, "Oh, what are you gonna go apply to?" I'm like, "You guys have to apply to university?" He's like, "You didn't know that?" And I felt so dumb. I'm like, damn. I went to like after that I went straight home. I'm like, do I have to apply for college? My mom's like, yeah, of course. I'm like, oh damn. I'm like, is it too late? And she's like, well, it's almost end of summer. Like it's almost end of school. So I'm like, yeah, you probably should look into it. I'm like, oh man, this is a lot of work. So yeah, I just went straight to art school. 2 years of first year of like art school or foundation. Went to Lincoln and McCarr, and went straight into animation school the year after. And then after that, start working. So I started working when I was pretty young, like 20.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But it was like a straight path. Like
like I knew what I want to do. But like art school, but art school doesn't have like clubs like UBC where you get to meet people. My animation school was like, I think there was only 13 people total for a full. So that's it. And then you're like,
or specialized trades classes.
Yes,
they're smaller bunch because they can teach them more effectively.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like it's expensive too. So, but I didn't know what stress was until I actually went to that school. I second semester, I think, I like kind of broke down. And I told my mom like, I don't know if this is really what I want because it was so stressful. Like earliest you get to school was I think it was at 9 or 8. And then the latest I would say is the midnight. Yeah, and we had like second semester, the most classes we had was 13 classes in a week. I think out of 10 of those classes, you had a project due the next week.
Jeez.
So you're like cramming in, like you're just project after project, like you just
It's so intense.
Yeah, and you're learning programs, right? And every program is different, interface is different. So it's tough, but it's okay. It's great, I guess. Kind of burnt out now, but not bad. But hey, go with your passion, man. Until it dies.
It's a really different thing.
Yeah.
Did you have anything that you like wanted to be in particular, Ricky? Like, did you have like anything that you were particularly interested in?
Actually, the funny thing was, I never did too well in school, but I have both of my older brothers. They both work in a hospital in the medical side.
Oh wow!
So I was thinking, it'd be kind of funny if all 3 of us work in a hospital together one day. So I was taking some courses, and there was one day where my dad, he needed to get some sort of minor eye surgery.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was thinking, I wonder how serious it is. And I Googled I YouTubed the video, just to see what it's like. And in the first like 2 minutes of fucking needles jamming into the eye, I threw up.
Oh my god!
There was a fucking garbage right beside me, and I threw up, and I was like, all right, I don't think medicine or anything medical is for me. So I just stopped.
But you went from you saw a video that went from 0 to 100.
Oh my god!
Straight to surgery.
I did not expect anything like that. So that was as some might say, that might be eye opening. So I just worked a lot of different jobs since then, and got a lot of different experiences from different companies.
Nice. Yeah, it's a lot more. Do you feel that pressure? You have to match up to your brothers?
No. I don't think my family ever gave me that pressure either.
Oh, that's nice. Mm-hmm. That's good. That's good.
Pretty lucky.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of younger siblings tend to have that, which can really make them chase the wrong career, I guess.
I think there wasn't a single stretch of time where I was without income or with a steady kind of company. So I think I think as long as I was with some sort of reputable employer.
So was it contract?
No. Just different companies.
Okay.
For a few years, but
mine's usually contract based. So it was super tough. After 3 or 2 months left, you're like, oh god, what's next? Oh, I need money. It was stressful. And then you go on EI as the worst thing, and then especially when you have to pay rent and
exactly,
and then mortgage if you do have a place. It's tough in my opinion.
Honestly, I think perhaps the Asian perception of the parents wanting, what's the big three? Doctor, lawyer, engineer?
Oh, my grandma wanted doctor, lawyer. My grandma used to say policeman, and then later they found out that they die a lot. So my mom was like, no policeman.
So just doctor, lawyer.
Yeah, doctor, lawyer, and then I think she changed it to a scientist or whatever.
So it's engineer, scientist. Yeah. Would be around the big three.
Yeah.
I think unless you're from an extremely traditional sort of Asian family, the parents don't necessarily see it that way anymore. Of course, it would be ideal because in essence and statistics wise, those three occupations would earn you the most money. And income revenue wise, I can see why, even for Asian families, it's also about face, right? It's I have a son or daughter who's a doctor or a lawyer, or engineer. I used to joke with some of my friends who are lawyers or ones that became a doctor and say, hey man, you became the ultimate Asian parent dream. You made it, But I think if your parents are a little bit more on the modern side, of course, ideally they might want you to consider those routes, but in a very realistic sense, they would know how capable you are or what your interests are currently in, rather than continuously try and push you towards that direction. Because there's tons of examples where it hasn't worked out for a lot of people and
change career.
Right, just change careers or
they're miserable and jaded.
Oh yeah, and then later they're just I hate my life.
Yeah. Do you feel attached to it?
A little bit. I hate my life. What am I doing? I wasted 20 years of my life doing this. This money doesn't matter. And that's why people get married. They have a different reason of I'm just kidding. Different reason, to make money. I don't know. I worked with in my fields, everyone's at a different age. There's people who are very young and people who are married, and then when you ask them their drive, it's all very different, right? Young people their drive is the passion, and then when you get older, it shifts more into family.
Right.
That's something I realized.
The flexibility kind of thing.
What do you mean by flexibility?
How are you able to balance such a crazy work schedule with family?
Yeah, or some of them they just work.
Clock in, clock out.
Yeah, clock in, clock out as more of as long as I can support my family, right? Yeah. Not more of the career, kind of
advancement. And all that.
They just stability is huge, right? Stability is everything. So Yeah, I'm at that stage. Stability is good. Yeah. But did you guys ever get beat when you were a kid?
Oh.
Like learn, like doing your homework,
All right, if there's anybody that works for child services, you can stop here. But I think as Asian kids, everybody got beat. There's just a rule that if you're an Asian kid, you gotta get beat, right?
Yeah.
I've been hit with belts, with feather dusters, with metal rods, with slippers. Yeah.
You got lucky that you get the slippers.
Oh, jeez.
You get lucky.
Yeah, that was a good day.
It's kind of soft, you know?
And then you pretend you cry more, so they still do like, oh, this one hurts the most. But they catch on, they'll be like, oh, he's faking it. Give me the big one.
Well, what was the most lethal weapon that you've ever gotten hit with?
The lethal one, I don't think there's a lethal. My dad threw like chairs at me.
Jeez.
And then the voltmeter stuff, the electric.
Yeah.
Like when I was young, like my parents work a lot, so usually either I'm at my grandparents' place or at the factory with my parents. And if I'm at the factory, like you're bored, there's nothing to do. Like parents tell you to read, I don't freaking want to read. I went to school already. You kidding me? I don't want to read more. So they would tell me to do my homework, finish my homework. There's nothing to do. So they have this voltmeter on like table, and you put those two needles together. It's like dee, dee, yeah. And I kept doing that. My mom was like, stop. And I when you're a kid, you don't fucking care. So I kept doing this. And then my mom like stood up, she grabbed one of the needles and she like stabbed me on my arm.
No way.
Yeah, and then I was bleeding. I was screaming so loud. And then later, I think many years later, I asked my mom, like, do you remember? You stabbed me with the voltmeter? My mom was like, no, I don't remember anything. I was like, you liar. You liar.
I didn't do that. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Was there a scar?
No, it's kind of faded, but it was on the left arm, I remember. Because I was bleeding. It was like a hole, and I was screaming, like, oh my God. And my mom went back and she stopped working again. And I'm like.
And you had to pull it out of your arm yourself?
She pulled it out for me.
She
stabbed. Yeah.
Holy cow.
Yeah. And hey, lesson learned. Never play with a voltmeter.
Or stop when she says stop.
Maybe not that. I think I still messed around. But not the voltmeter. I knew that she would stab me with it. So, that was probably the worst one. I think the most I think any kid's most traumatizing is your dad or whoever's going to beat you tells you in the car, be like, when you get home, that's it. That's all they say, and you're like, "Oh my God!" And they're driving home, and you're like, "Oh God, more red lights, please!" And you're like sweating.
You're praying for a car accident or anything.
Yeah, the closer it gets home, the more you're sweating, and then you have to like get out of the car, knowing that once you step in, you're gonna get beat. Dude, that's the most traumatizing. But my dad takes it to the next level where he makes us close the window and the curtains ourselves. So you're closing, you're like, oh God. And then while you're closing, he goes in the closet to get the stick. So you're like, oh God. This is the worst. Like, this is the most traumatizing thing you can do.
Doing that is almost as bad as actually getting hit. Because you're assisting, you're facilitating your own injuries.
Yeah, you're closing the windows so no noise goes out.
You're putting the sock in your mouth. And you're like,
oh man, my dad was like that extreme beating, so I got like beat really hard. Yeah,
I think every Asian kid has had the feather duster.
Oh yeah,
but our feather duster was a plastic hollow tube with metal spiraling inside it for rigidity. So that was the weapon that my parents always used, and I've gotten hit so many times I've lost count. By that weapon, my brothers and I, we all got hit by it. But I've tried to hide it so many times. I didn't find it every single time.
Really?
Yeah, it didn't make any sense. Like, what the fuck did they had some sort of tracking device in there. It was ridiculous.
Oh my God!
I see the feather duster. You're like, what the hell? I hit it under the couch.
Yeah. Did your parents say you were fair?
Yeah, I'd say mine was more of just regular shoehorn. The long shoehorn one was probably the most common for me. Yeah, that was, and slippers. Yeah, that's pretty much the two.
I always wanted slippers. Never got that. I just got the stick. Like my dad made his own, like he has his own stick that he took like you know the bamboo ones where you put the plants? He put 3 of the thin ones together and he duct tape it. Oh. And that was the signature one. And he always, whenever he takes that one, I'm like, oh my God, because it has so much like whip to it.
Yeah. And it's such a satisfying sound.
Oh my God. And I remember like they had that in the duster, right?
Yeah.
And I remember I threw the duster away in the garbage. Like we live in a condo, and I remember we just threw it down like the apartment. And then my dad was trying to find it. And in my head, I'm like, hell yeah, he can't find it. He's got to beat me with this like slipper or something soft. And then he's like, he couldn't find it. He busted. He went to a certain area in his like room, and he came out with a box. And he took one out. I'm like, oh damn it! There's so many more. I'm like, oh my God, this didn't do nothing. I'm like, oh, he beat me even harder because he couldn't find it. Because he was so frustrated trying to find the one that was missing. I was like, damn, that didn't work. So I'm like, man, let's learn.
Did you ever tell adults about like getting hit as a joke or passing or anything like that?
My brother actually, they told you about like, you know, child services and like beating is not allowed. And especially going to like that school, they really reinforce like your parents are not allowed to do this.
Yeah.
And then I was a smart one. When they tell me that, I'm like, okay, but I'm not gonna tell my parents that because that's stupid. But my brother, he learned that and he went to school. He went home and he told my dad, he's like, hey, you can't hit me. Child services. and then he beat my brother. And then my brother ended up telling the teacher, and child services actually called.
Oh, yeah.
And then my dad's like, oh, you call child services? And he's like, okay, live with another family. And he took all the stuff and threw it outside in the hallway. My brother's crying. I was like, oh, sorry. You say you want to live with another family. What are you doing? Oh my God. And then I'm like in the back, just like watching. I'm like, so stupid. Why would you do that? I'm like, come on. So yeah, that's the only thing.
I knew better to ever tell adults about getting hit because, I don't know, at some parts I agreed, like I was bad and I got hit. There's one time where they spanked me and it was like, that was my first time ever. And it was like a weird sensation, like getting hit on my butt. It's like weird not hard at all. Yeah. I was like, oh, all right, I'm okay with this. Compared to getting hit with a fucking metal stick. Yeah. And then there in elementary school, there's one day where we were talking about child services, and I didn't know what child services was.
Yeah.
But the counselor pulled us in one by one, and the child service lady, she was asking me about details at home, and I said, "Oh, once in a while, my family touches my butt," and then they're like, "Oh, really?" And then a few days later, while I was at school, they actually sent somebody to my house.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And then they asked my parents about this incident. So they thought I was being sexually abused or something like that.
Oh my God.
Just from being like touched on the butt.
What did your parents say?
No, of course they denied everything.
They're just like, oh no, we just beat them. That's it.
Yeah, no big deal. It's just a few smacks.
Disciplinary action.
Yeah, but I felt like that was a close call. Like I probably would have gotten taken away. I would.
Oh my God.
I would change my life.
After that, you're like, nope.
Yeah, I don't tell anybody. Fucking snitches.
Well, now as adults, we can like really joke about it, kind of thing.
Yeah. It's like I think it builds personality and character. It definitely builds character.
So the question here would be, it's like, would you guys agree that certain disciplines are needed when raising your kids, or like anybody raising their kids, or like, are you okay with like just doing like, I don't know, what would be the regular punishment these days for kids? It's like grounding, scolding, taking away their
like their tablet. Yeah, I think that's nowadays. I don't have a kid, so I can't really say, but that's what I hear.
Kids, so.
But yeah, I feel like a balance is good. I think balance is everything. I think back then we get hit a lot because they didn't know how to communicate. And also,
probably like they were raised that way as well culturally.
Yes.
And they never knew that it was detrimental to their well-being.
And it's also how busy they are, right? Like they're
quick punishment.
Yeah, they need quick something like a resolve really quick. So and hitting is the easiest, right? You hit something, so they're super quiet. Hey, it did its job. But little do they know it's traumatizing.
Or little do they care, who knows?
Yeah. But I understand now to the point like they're immigrants, right? Like they come here, they're super busy working. They don't have the time to teach us, right? Because that requires time and patience. And they don't have patience. They don't have time. So the easiest way is to get hit. So I don't think it's the right way, but I think there's some kind of discipline is good. So I think as long as communication is there and you tell them why this is not okay, it's good. But if like I'm thinking back when I was young, when I didn't care, like when you're a kid, sometimes you just don't care and you block everything out.
Yeah.
I think that's when you need like a little like just not hard,
right?
Just
shake them up.
Yeah, just something just to snap them out of it. Snap them out of it. Like, hey, that's not okay. I don't know if that's going to be a hit or not, but something like that, and then let them chill out for a bit, and then explain to them, right? Like I never got an explanation why I got hit. I just know that whenever they get angry, I'm gonna get beat. So don't ever go there. But I built up so much like resentment and stuff like that, so it's not good. But we'll see. I don't have a kid, so that's what I say. It might change later on.
Angus is coming with a stick.
I'd be like, oh, it's like, so how's the discipline going? I'm like, take out a box of like the dusters. I'm like, this is what's happening. I lied to myself. So I guess this is we can end it off here.
Let us know down in the comments if you have any similar experiences growing up.
Tell us how if your parents beat you.
I want to know exactly the details, the weapon, the injuries, the severity.
How traumatized you were. Hey, we're all traumatized here. That's why we have character.
Exactly. All right. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in.
For the next one.